Hello everyone, welcome to the Digital Marketing Camp, the podcast where we keep on sharing some of the informative tools, techniques, case studies, and latest updates in the digital marketing domain. I'm your host Prince Kumar, and today we have Punit Bhatia, one of the finest data privacy consultant with us to discuss about privacy concerns in digital marketing. Puneet Bhatia is one of the world's leading privacy experts who have worked with professionals in over 30 countries. Puneet guide business and privacy leaders on GDPR-based privacy compliance through online as well as in-person training and consulting. He is a respected author for three well-known books, namely AI and Privacy, Be an Effective DPO, and Be Ready for GDPR. Hi Punit, excited to have you on our show and discuss this important topic which every marketers and businesses should be aware of.
Hi, Prince. Thanks for having me. You're doing a great job in having this digital marketing Gyan podcast, which is helping a lot of people. So continue to do that, and I'm grateful to be here.
Thank you so much. So Punit, can you just start with sharing a brief corporate journey of yours and how this you have been doing into this data privacy sector?
Yeah, so like most people in India, I started in IT. After engineering, I went into IT, and then I had my evolution, and I came to Belgium. Of course, before that, I was in South Africa, and I had the opportunity to work in Tata Consultancy Services and even other companies wherein I did different roles in IT. And then I had the good fortune of doing an MBA from Belgium. And then I switched to ING Bank, wherein I had the opportunity to be a sourcing and vendor management. And from there, I moved to privacy program management. So there was GDPR coming along. They asked me to do project management for that in Belgium. I was doing well. So they wanted me to do this in 30 plus countries at group level as a privacy and protection officer. So I did that for about 2.5 years. And then I joined Stanley Black and Decker, which is a US based company, and I was the global privacy manager. And as you can imagine, once do these kind of things, you either continue to do those or you become a consultant. So I chose the second one and I became a consultant. So I help companies across the globe with the privacy strategy, in terms of advisory, that is, do they need to choose which laws to comply, how do you comply, what's your privacy strategy, or in terms of consulting, that is doing assessments and then taking actions, and of trainings for staff as well as professionals, because the privacy professionals also need to be certified and need to be trained. So we have dedicated trainings for CIPM, CIPT, CIPPE, which is basically industry standard certification. So that's how I evolved, or came into privacy sector. And now it's been about 7 years because I started in about 2015, and it's been a wonderful journey. And as you mentioned, I've written a few books, and we also have a podcast called the Fit for Privacy podcast.
Perfect. So your complete journey has been an amazing one. Whether it might be the book or whether it might be, you might be into the podcast, and giving sessions along with that, helping businesses to work upon this important subject that is privacy. So, for the common users, can you just help us understand what does privacy means in this digital world?
So that's a very interesting question you ask, and it's often misunderstood because most people will say, I don't have anything to protect, I have nothing to hide, so I don't need privacy. That's how some of my friends also say. But the fact of the matter is, if I pick or you pick any person and say, what's your name? They will be very happy to share with you. Then you ask, do you have a partner or a girlfriend, or are you married? Some people will start to get reluctant. And then you say, by the way, what's your bank account number? And then people start to get more reluctant. And then you say, what's the password of the bank account and username? Then certainly people will be reluctant. So every one of us, when questions are being asked or information is being shared, we have a choice, or we have a threshold to which we are comfortable sharing something. Maybe if it's my wife, I would be okay to share my bank account number and maybe username and password, and maybe not, but not with everyone. And that choice of what you share and who you share it with is privacy. Now in the digital world, since you asked what is in context of digital world, that has changed. Earlier it was somebody wants to click a photo and we say don't click my photo, please excuse me. It was easy. But now it's all about data. We have devices with us, these collect data, and then in covid everywhere we go they ask data, all these things. Then we are on websites, these are collecting data, there are trackers. So privacy is becoming protection of personal data. So not all data, I mean everything is not privacy, but when it relates to a person, you, me, or anyone else, that is personal data and that needs to be protected. So in the modern world it's about protection of personal data, but usually it's about the choice of sharing what you want to share with who you want to share.
Perfect. Okay. Perfectly. Very rightly said. It's completely depend on what we want to share with our audience, and that is how the privacy is defined. So, do you think maintaining this data privacy is one of the major challenge tasks for businesses? That are especially working in this online space.
It is because businesses have been used to growing and collecting data, putting trackers, creating innovation, digital marketing, all those things, and then building up their databases. Now, in last few years, these privacy laws have been strengthened. In some countries, it has been strengthened, and in some, like India, it's still being talked about. So, what's happening is this is creating a little bit of paradox. On one hand, they were used to collecting data free flow without any constraints or limited constraint, and now all of a sudden we are telling them there are rules for which you can collect data, be transparent, be open, don't have trackers. And then it's feeling like a little bit constrained. Businesses are feeling, how can I leverage data, how will my AI work, how will my digital marketing work, can I still do my business? So that's the fear factor which is coming in. So for coming from a place wherein there were limited rules or no rules to a place wherein there are strong rules and strong fines, it seems like a paradox, and hence it's becoming a challenge, or it feels like a challenge. However, if a business invests time, effort, energy, and of course money along with it, then it's doable task and it is good for the business, because then you are able to retain trust of individuals, that is customers.
So in this only, I just wanted to understand that there are two type of data. Whether it might be the one which we want to go for the paid campaigns, or let's say for the digital marketing. The other is the data of our end users. Let's say for an e-commerce industry, they will be having a lot of data of their customers. So even because of this all hijackings and these all things, it has become an important part for the businesses to protect these data so that it should not be misused somewhere. So do you think that it has become a challenge nowadays?
It feels like a challenge, especially when they have not been doing the right thing. If you have had privacy foundations, like even in Europe, wherein we are having the most strictest laws in terms of privacy, there was data protection law since 1995 or even before, but those laws were not strict. So there was a little bit of leeway and people were not doing the right thing. And now it felt like I have to do so much. Maybe my business will not run. Like Apple introduced these changes now, saying in the digital marketing, Google is saying we will remove third party cookies or third party trackers. And that is creating a bit of concern. But I think we will find our place, we will find our way. And especially for e commerce, there's a lot of non personal data that they can collect and still manage to be in a good place. Because if you look at 50 years ago, how was marketing being done? You just create an ad, put it in newspaper, no tracking, you just pay, and then you don't even know if it was watched or not. But now you want tracking, how many people saw, how many people clicked, how many opened it, the email, and so that we are so used to it. And that will need to give in, and we will need to be a little bit more transparent around it. So, yes, it's a challenge, but I think we'll find our way.
So please help us try to understand what are the prominent cyber security threats that can occur into this digital marketing domain.
So, the most prominent threat, if we look at research, is human error. Because we always think there are hackers, there are this and there are that, but almost 30 to 50% of incidents or breaches or risks or cybersecurity incidents happen because of human error, or someone having in the wrong intentions, that is trying to make money quickly, trying to make advantage of it while sharing something with someone. That's the biggest, single biggest threat. Of course, we do have hackers, we do have vulnerabilities, but it's the vulnerabilities, the hackers and others do not work in isolation unless somebody who's an insider is giving some information. And or probably another human error is people being lenient or not being careful, having weak passwords, sharing password with colleagues, not using a password manager or using the same password everywhere. So it's all relating to human factor or human error, which is creating the biggest threat. And if we look at the modern world today, there are other threats as well, because we are in a globalized world, everything is based on cyber. So let's imagine somebody hacks into the defense systems of a country. Now, that's another way of fighting the war. So those threats are developing, but again, even in those cases, it's based on human error or human failure.
So you have helped us to understand, what are the prominent security threats that generally have. So to avoid this, there have been laws created globally, means mostly like most of the countries are developing, but along with that, there are some global laws that have been made. So can you help us understand what are the few of the prominent data privacy laws that are being followed globally?
At the moment, almost every country has a privacy law. Almost every country. And those who don't have it, they are also developing one. So there are a few exceptions, like they would have state-wise laws, or they would have an IT Act or Cyber Act, and not a detailed Privacy Act. But the ones we talk about often is EU GDPR, because it applies to 27 member states. So that makes a big chunk of it. We talk about the California Consumer Protection Act because of the size of economy of California. Then a lot of other US states are coming up. Then Brazil has come up with a law. Again, it's a large economy or growing economy. Then South Africa has PDEPA, and now also Canada has passed a new law. They already had a law and they passed a new one. Australia and New Zealand have, and even India is contemplating for last 2 years the Personal Data Protection Bill. So almost every country, and I can say almost 140 countries have passed a privacy like law like GDPR in last 5 years. So when we say 140 countries, that means majority of countries now have a privacy law, and even China passed a privacy law recently. So I think it's a growing trend that people and our governments want to protect data, and they want to define rules what should be done and what should not be done.
Definitely. So can you help us understand few of the common rules that are being framed? Let's say we can go with the GDPR only. Some of the prominent rules that are being followed.
So most laws, that's a good question. Most laws have something called a principle based approach. And it sounds very simple, but then implementing is the challenge. Like, you need to be collecting data in a lawful and fair manner. So like if I'm collecting somebody's data as a company, I need to tell them what data I'm collecting, why am I collecting, what will I do with it, and only then collect it, rather than collect it for something. Like on my website, I collect it for something and then use it for something else. That's not done. That's the first thing, fairness in the usage of data. Second is being transparent. So while you are transparent when collecting it, even after that, give them an opportunity to know what is done, where it is shared, who is it shared, and how can they ask more questions. Then there is also about accountability, that is, companies take self responsibility, not just rely on laws, and take care of the responsible behavior, if we simplify it to extreme extent. And behind it there are rights, because just asking companies to be accountable will not work, or responsible will not work. So people like you and me need to have the rights, saying ability to ask questions, ability to say what data you have about me, what do you do with it. So that's the rights part of it. And then there is a lot of administration aspect. There should be a person who's responsible. Like in India, we are saying a grievance officer should be installed by companies. And in Europe, we are saying data protection officer or an EU representative. So there is a dedicated person. And again, behind it, you can't do all this if you don't know your data, if you don't do checks, you don't do assessments, and then you don't inform users or ask explicit consent. So these are some of the high level requirements, and all the laws have these requirements. The only variance is some have one thing stricter, some have one thing little bit lenient, and some name it differently and the other one names it differently. But broadly speaking, they are asking, they are suggesting, tell the user what you're doing, be more transparent, and take some responsibility while respecting the queries, the requests, the rights from individuals.
Definitely, the transparency is something that we are seeing in most of the social platforms also. Like when if Facebook asks for if we are generating a doing going for a lead campaign, then Facebook definitely asks that you need to mention the right purpose for the end user, that what they are going to do for it, and for that there should be a page on your website which should be having all the reads and instructions around that. So definitely, transparency is one of the most important things that you have.
Indeed, and I think if you've seen, since you are in digital marketing, you would know when you create a Facebook ad, there is an option to add a link to your privacy statement or privacy policy, which is again transparency. Because if you have explained what personal data you collect, what you do with it, who do you share it with, how do you respect rights, then you give a link. Then the person, before submitting their data, sharing their data, can access that, and there creates more transparency and trust.
These are the privacies that you have. Uh, Let us go for example. Let's say let us go for Apple. So starting with iOS 14.5, now they have made the complete change where the user now have the complete option that whether they want the social medias to track them or not. So with more strictly privacy laws and these updates, do you think it will limit digital marketers who will not able to track user journey and provide the customized marketing communication that they were able to provide?
My opinion is, in the long term, no, but in the short term, feels like it is perceived like there is an impact. But what Apple is saying, they're not saying do not track for everybody. They're saying track only when the user allows. So earlier, everybody is being tracked wholesale. Now only those who allow. So user has a choice: I want to be tracked in this device or not. I want to share my data or not. And then also transparency around where is this data being shared in terms of third parties. So I think it's all in good spirit and it's going in the right direction. You should not be doing mass surveillance. It's like we believe there can be a terrorist attack or a threat, so let's put a policeman outside each house. We don't do that because we don't have that many policemen. So same way, if we need to collect data and do surveillance, we don't need to do it for everybody. We need to do it for the people whom we suspect. And for digital marketing, on the positive side of it, when where we want to sell, we want to send our offers, we want to send our marketing leads to those who are real leads, those who really want to buy the stuff, not everyone. So having 100,000 or 1 million or 10 million Apple users and bombarding them or collecting their data is no good. I would rather have 50,000 or 10,000 leads who are true leads and who will buy. And my, in the long term, overall, the go through ratio or click through ratio will increase, and conversion ratio would also increase because you'll have more quality leads and more people will buy, rather than uh, quite widely targeting everybody. Because if you look at any company, they don't need 7 billion people. Nobody needs 7 billion customers. You need a few million or few ten thousands or few hundred customers. But what we were doing were, we were targeting or we were going out to 8 billion or 7 billion people, and that's what is changing, and it is a shift, and it does feel a little bit constraining, but it won't have an impact in the long term.
So, since you are here, in India, we are seeing a lot of phishing activities in the social media nowadays, where for most of the users, like what we are generally saying is that, the hackers, what they do is they create a duplicate account. Let's say if I go on Facebook, so they create a duplicate Facebook account and then friend request to all their friends and then ask for money exchanges and these all things. So this is happening nowadays very prominently. So since I would like to take this opportunity to ask from you, what are the important steps that you will suggest for individuals to secure their social media accounts?
Sure. So there are some of the basics that people can do. One is, all these apps, all our banks, all our social media accounts have something called privacy settings. So go there and make sure your privacy is protected. I give you a very simple example. If you are on Facebook, you are posting something, do you want the whole of world to know about it, or only your friends to know about it, or maybe friends of friends? So, but or maybe yourself. So that's the extreme. You don't want it to be yourself because you're sharing it so that others know it, but that will be your friends, and in the best case friends of friends, but not public. So if you change that setting from public to friends or friends of friends, you're already limiting misuse of that data. So there are many settings like this, even in Google, even in Google, when you have Google history, YouTube watch history, you can set it up that the history gets removed after 1 month or 3 months or whatever you choose, or you can even manually do it. Second thing is, you're using passwords, so use strong passwords. And I know managing passwords is a pain, so maybe you can use password managers. And another thing you can do is you can use dual factor authentication. That is, if somebody is logging into your account on your behalf, you have a dual authentication. Maybe a SMS is sent on your phone, or there's an app using which you are authenticating. That means even if your password is breached, there is next level of protection through which your data is being protected. And then common sense always helps. Choose what you're posting and choose what you're not posting. Like, I've seen people posting about, I'm going on holidays, and then the thieves know that you're going on holidays because your Facebook profile is public. Now that's not very smart. You can always post it when you're back. So it's all about a little bit of common sense, but I know there people have less awareness, and that creates a challenge, and people don't realize the threat or the vulnerability that these things cause or create.
Definitely, definitely. So can you also help us understand the precaution that one should take while going for online purchase? Because this is also one of the important medium where the people's important data is getting leaked nowadays.
So there, the best way is use a secure transaction mechanism. Most of the banks offer secure transaction mechanism, and do not share your information publicly. Check the validity, check the credentials of that company where you are paying, and use something like a credit card or a card which has limits. Now, if you start using a card which is directly linked to your bank account, that means your entire bank account is exposed. But if you're using a credit card or a card which has limits, then your risk is only up to the limit of that card, and then you can always block that card while your account remains safe. So that's very common. People would just link their account, and the entire portfolio, entire money that they have is at risk, while having limit based cards or credit cards reduces that risk. And another thing is, you can also buy insurance on these cards, and most banks do provide, and if you have that, you are again protected. And yes, as I said, privacy settings, authentication or dual authentication, or strong passwords, and not sharing data, those are still applying even in the banking domain or e-commerce when you're working on online. And avoid exchange sharing your credit card information and those things on chat and everywhere, because I know some companies say, give me on chat. They will push a messenger or message and ask you. Be a little bit freak, saying, I don't want to give you that data.
Definitely, definitely. These are very informative tips that you are given. So this these were the most of the common queries that an end user generally has. Now coming to the business point of view. So what are the different steps that businesses can follow to ensure that data and information of their users and website visitors are secured, especially in the e-commerce section, where a lot of data are generated every day?
So if you look at it broadly at the highest level, there are three things to do. Of course, in the detail we will have a lot of actions, but the first thing is awareness amongst the management and staff, saying what parts of data need to be protected and what is okay, and how it is to be protected. So having some guidance, having some policy, having some awareness around what laws are there, what personal data needs to be protected, what types of data needs to be protected, and what are the big ticket items we are going to do. So that's first thing is awareness. Second thing is Once you know these are the things to do, like your website should be secure, you should use the HTTPS rather than HTTP, then you should have phishing filters and so on. Then do an assessment meaning whatever you have known, check, is this being done in the company? Have a checklist. Maybe get a consultant and ask them to validate. Like when we do the assessment, we did a recent assessment and we checked it on 160 points. So do that assessment and find out on which ones there are some vulnerabilities. And the next step then would be, you know where the gaps are, where the vulnerabilities are, and take those actions. And the best thing is, rather than saying I've done awareness, assessment, and action, now I'm secure for 5 years, it won't work like that. Business keeps changing. While business innovates, marketing innovates, the hackers also innovate. So what happens then is everybody grows their stuff or grows their skill. So that's why you need to create a culture of privacy, that is continuously looking at awareness, continuously doing assessments every few years, and continually taking actions and seeing where vulnerabilities have come up and taking care of those. And again, keep an eye on the market. Awareness is also about that. What new trends are coming, what new phishing attacks are coming, what new hackers are doing, and see if you are exposed or not, rather than saying no, it happened to them, not to us. Well, it's a matter of time, it can happen to you. So don't wait, stay active, stay agile, and stay focused.
Definitely, very rightly you have said that one need to be updated every time. It's not that once they have checked, that there are no privacy concerns, and then they should be relaxed at the moment. They need to update it because hackers are even updating themselves every day. So we need to be alert, and this is not a one-time activity. It should be performed at a regular interval in order to ensure that none of the data are being. So now you have given a lot of advice on businesses on how to to prevent these data losses and this on. Now coming to the future, how you would guide our marketers that how they should be working upon to adopt and work responsibly in future by maintaining the digital privacy that are being updated on regular basis, whether it might be on the global level or whether if they are working at a kind of country level. So what are the different best practices that marketers should adopt that they should not suffer even in the future?
I'm a great fan of simplification, so I would not complexify the answer, but make it very simple. One thing is, be transparent on what you are collecting, why you are collecting, who you will share, and don't collect too much data. That's the first thing. So be transparent. Second thing is, be open. So don't think if we share it with clients or if we ask this, they will not give us their data, they will not give us their consent. Be open. If they really want that product, they will give you the consent, and if they don't want it, anyhow you don't need their data. The whole issue is you are collecting lot of data, lot of leads from people who don't want to buy, and that's no good. So don't look at the number of leads or a number of emails, look at the quality of leads. And last but not the least, the third thing I always suggest is, you as a marketer, your core competence is marketing. Focus on that. But you are a responsible marketer and you want to protect privacy and you want to be on the right side of the law. Therefore, most companies have a privacy professional or a privacy expert. Go and ask them, because you are an expert in marketing and they are an expert in privacy. Asking them is the best thing. While you do your best in terms of high level being transparent and being open, ask them and they will always guide you on what to be done, what's not to be done. Yes, it will feel, no, these guys don't let me do my thing, they always constrain me, but in the long term they are protecting you and your company. And you as a digital marketer, while you want to grow your company's business, you don't want to create a risk for your company. So don't hesitate, always ask your privacy manager, privacy consultant, privacy advisor, data protection officer, whosoever it is, because they are there to help you. And just like you are there to grow your company's business through marketing, they are there to protect your company. So work together with them and you will create a very safe environment and effective marketing campaigns together with them, and nobody will be able to create a risk for your company.
Definitely, definitely. Very informative advice that you have given. That we should be, the digital marketer should not be working upon this digital privacy. they should be helping or they should be working with experts who can guide them better. So, with this, we have come to the end of today's episode. Today, I came to know a lot about the importance of digital privacy, and I think it would have been informative for our audience also, who face a lot of challenge of data privacy nowadays. It was pleasure having you, Mr. Puneet. Thank you so much, and looking forward to host you again on our show.
So thank you so much, Prince. It was a pleasure to have you, and you're doing great stuff. And please continue to help people through your podcast.